Okay, now let's take a look at security awareness training and why organizations need to ensure that their employees understand what cyber threats and cyber attacks look like. So essentially, cyber attackers don't just rely on technology to get around security controls. Many use social engineering, as we've seen in the previous presentation, to deceive users into unintentionally creating that entry point into the networks so that malicious software can take control. So constantly being targeted, people always have the ability to be that weakest link in your security defenses. However, our people can also be our strongest line of defense, armed with the right knowledge. So threats are constantly changing, and we need to adapt to those changes to remain protected. So end users and employees who have been trained on how to spot cyber threats can be a significant asset to your business's cybersecurity approach. So let's take a look at why we need security awareness training. And here's just some of the statistics that have been presented within a couple reports. As you can see, Verizon's data breach investigations report found that 82% of all successful cyber attacks is caused by human error. Okay, 82%. That is a staggering percentage. And also too, from Proofpoint's State of the Fish report, 83% of organizations are victims of phishing attacks. Okay, and it's estimated that there are about 3.4 billion spam emails sent every day, and on a daily basis, Google actually blocks about 100 million phishing emails. So as I mentioned earlier, your employees, your customers are constant targets whenever they are connected to the internet. Here's some more information drawn from WebRoot. So 50% of users in the survey admit to clicking links to messages from unknown senders. Okay, so they've received an email in their inbox. They have no idea who that individual is, but they've still clicked on a link within that email or that message. And 74% of those attacks were via email, which beggars the point why business email compromise as well as email account takeover is so significant. And so the key takeaway here is office workers, we underestimate the risks out there. And partially that's due to education. So what are the consequences to business if users aren't able to detect these particular threats and they click on those links? Well, here are some of the world's most expensive phishing attacks. The first at the top you can see is Facebook and Google. So essentially, fake invoice emails cost Google and Facebook 90 million pounds when euros, sorry, when a man actually was able to dupe Google and Facebook into transferring over $100,000 into accounts he controlled, and he'd pleaded guilty to wire fraud. Secondly, we've got Creelan Bank, which fell victim to CEO fraud, and they lost, as you can see, 76 million euros. And also, we can see at the bottom a successful social engineering scam on FACC, which is a global aerospace company, cost them 42 million euros. So here, the CEO's email address was infiltrated and then used to dupe a lower level employee, or employees, I should say, into transferring huge sums of money to a dodgy, suspicious bank account. So those are the big stories, but we also have, as you can see on the right, some smaller examples, I should say, from the SMB space. Okay, so 20 million annual revenue company, food distributor, they lost $23,000. And at the bottom here, a 4 to 5 million revenue company had to part way with $500,000. So if you think about small businesses, can they truly survive with these types of losses? Large organizations, government-backed entities, they've got a foot to stand on and backing, but small businesses, not so much. So even the FBI's reporting underscores this particular point that this is a billion-dollar industry. Business email compromise and account takeover is very lucrative. So let's take a look at social engineering and what that really is. So let's watch this short video to fully understand what social engineering is.
In cybersecurity, social engineering refers to a wide array of tactics that can be used to trick you into opening a malicious email attachment, clicking on an unsafe URL, or sending money or valuable information to an attacker. It's the art and science of manipulation. Attackers use any information they can grab from your social networks and use your basic human nature against you. By playing off deep-rooted impulses, such as fear, desire, and empathy, the attacker hijacks your normal thought process to make you act on their behalf. Social engineering against your organization can lead to credential phishing, wire fraud, and more. It's often combined with other techniques, such as email domain spoofing, where fraudsters send emails from a trusted domain. So, how can you avoid a socially engineered attack? Here are a few tips. Slow down. They are relying on you to act impulsively, without thinking. Be suspicious of anything that came unsolicited or is unexpected, even if it appears to come from a trusted website, coworker, or even your boss. Don't click on links in emails. If it appears to come from a trusted site, go to the actual site to check your information. Stopping socially engineered attacks requires a cyber defense centered on people, not technology. That includes stopping attacks from reaching their targets and training people to recognize and report any attempts that get through. Learn more at proofpoint.com.
Okay, so I hope you found that short video quite useful. So let's take a look at essentially what a phishing attack does look like. And we're going to walk through that anatomy of a phishing attack. So firstly, obviously, we need a hacker who is going to try to target the intended victim. So firstly, they will send that phishing email to the target. That user unintentionally clicks on a link that's a phishing link and takes them to a fake website, a phishing website. From that phishing website, the hacker is then able to collect the important information that you provided, which could be your username and password or anything else. And once they've got that, the hacker is then able to use the victim's credentials to access further private information. Often this occurs without the user being aware that this has actually taken place. Okay. So what are some of the types of phishing? Let's walk through some common examples. Firstly, we have whale phishing. So a whaling attack is a phishing attack that targets a senior executive within the organization. So these individuals often have, deep access to sensitive areas of the network. So a successful attack can result in access to valuable information or data. Next, we've got spear phishing. So spear phishing is different in the sense that this is where most phishing attacks would cast a wide net. Okay. But spear phishing is highly targeted. So well-researched attackers generally focus on business execs, public personas, and other lucrative targets. Next, we have vishing, which is of particular interest given the significant news around AI. So vishing is voice phishing. So it involves a malicious caller purporting to be from tech support, for example, a government agency or another organization, and trying to extract personal information such as banking or credit card information. Smishing. So smishing is SMS-enabled phishing that is delivered through malicious short links to smartphone users. They're often disguised as account notices, price notifications, and political messages. I've also seen some as well too. I've received related to COVID-19 and the NHS's track and trace service. Another way in which hackers can use nefarious methods is through QR code phishing. So this is where, a message is sent or an email that includes a QR code that, when it's scanned, leads to a fake website or downloads malware onto the user's device. So users have to be clued up to the new threats that we're seeing. And one that's pretty recent as well too is phishing as a service. So I mentioned evil proxy in a previous presentation. And essentially, this is where the phishing as a service uses a software as a service business model, providing access to phishing kits in exchange for a fee. So the cybercriminals are essentially service providers selling access to tools and knowledge necessary to carry out a phishing attack. So, what do you get with security awareness training? Generally, you would get a phishing simulator, which is going to be used, as you can see, to build that awareness, test those users. So a great solution would enable you to be able to actually craft those emails, those phishing emails, with the ability to customize them as well too, so they look pretty legit to a user. You can also to create the lure page, which would be that page where the user would potentially enter their credentials that are then captured. And these particular simulators need to be as close to real world examples as possible to make it more compelling. Security awareness training would also include access to training courses. So the great solutions out there have a pretty extensive library. Those libraries are also well updated regularly with any new content, and you can either have the user go directly to training, or as part of the phishing simulation, once they've clicked the link, for example, you can have them to you can have them redirected to take a training course, for example. And in terms of automation, this is where you're going to have the ability using the security awareness training to actually manage that phishing campaign. So you can actually see when users click on the links, what percent of users actually clicked on a link or actually opened the email, read it. Did they take any further action? So you can pretty much gauge the interaction of your users as with respect to the phishing emails. So let's have a little game. Can you spot the fish in this example? Let's test our knowledge of phishing. So as you can see here, you can access the game via phishingquiz.withgoogle.com. Let's just take a couple quick examples. All right, so we've got Joe. Just enter my email address and get started. So all right, let's start with this Google Doc. Okay, be sure to check out link URLs, hover over them for a while and explore the email addresses. So let's try this one from Luke Johnson. So Luke Johnson looks a bit suspicious. There's an A missing. If I hover over this link, it takes me to drive-google.com domain. I'm not too convinced about that. It looks close to Google Drive, but not quite. So I'm going to say this is a phishing email. Yep, it is a phishing email. Okay. So there was a lookalike URL within that one. So mousing over this link would show that there's an imitation domain to drive hyphen Google. Let's try one more. You've received a fax. We know you're excited, but take your time. All right, let's check the email address. So no reply at efacks.com. Let's hover over this link. And it seems like the start of the domain is different to the email address. And also the end of the domain includes mailru382.co. I'm going to say this is phishing. This is a bit suspicious. So well spotted. All right. So the sender's address is efacks.com, which is misspelt. And as you can see here, the actual domain is mailru382.co.uk. So when you do get a chance, please have a go at that quiz. So what does a successful security awareness training look like? So here's some information collected from Rebroot, which shows that regular phishing simulations can actually reduce those clicks. So users are actually learning to better spot phishing emails. And so they are not clicking on those emails or links because they understand that they are suspicious. And just like with any process, it's a continuous, ongoing management process. So you would benefit from routinely, you know, testing or sending out these phishing campaigns to your users. And essentially, what that means is, with the right training, with the right knowledge, you actually get a reduction in the amount of malware that actually hits your business.